Not everybody's day goes according to plan. A lot of people, when their day falls apart, go online and share what's happened. I share their stories with you. Epic fails on Rock 107.
Have you heard about the lonesome loser? He's a loser, but he still keeps on trying.
I went to get a hoagie and I asked the guy behind the counter if he could put extra pickles on it. He looked at my stomach, then put a huge handful on them. I'm not pregnant. I'm just fat.
Loser.
My dad has such a low opinion of me, he refused to believe I had a girlfriend and instead chose to believe she was a prostitute I hired to try and impress him. My girlfriend was so insulted, she dumped me right there, all the while my dad applauding her for her impressive role play. I'm at that glorious age where I have to pull apart my wrinkles to get at the zits hiding inside.
Sorry, you're such a loser.
Their lack of success makes us feel better about our lives. Epic fails on Rock 107.
I thought the cashier said the new blouse I picked out was ugly as she was ringing me up, and I'm really self-conscious about my fashion sense, so I snapped and started yelling at her. It wasn't until she was close to tears did I find out she said lovely, not ugly. So there's another store I can't go back to.
He's a big baby loser.
On the subject of sex, I asked my son if he uses precautions, and he promised me he always gives ladies a fake name and fake phone number like Dad taught him.
Loser.
I asked my class of 5th graders to write down a list of all the compound words they knew. At least 4 of them put down MFer.
I'm a loser.
Their defeat is our victory. Epic fails on Rock 107.
After a 20-minute conversation, I am still unable to convince my grandmother that Tylenol and acetaminophen are the same thing. I just graduated from med school.
Are you a big loser? Yes, you are. You are a loser.
I ran into my ex-girlfriend at the mall, the one who I faked my death to back in Texas so I wouldn't have to tell her I was leaving for someone else. She moved to Florida, too. What a small world.
Breaking the news that's already broken. It's time for Prospector's Briefs on Rock 107.
A new study says being a fan of a bad football team can be hazardous to your health. In related news, all New York Jet uniforms will now have a warning label. A piece of space junk will collide with the moon today. It will generate a cloud of white dust not seen since Charlie Sheen sneezed. AMC movie theaters will base ticket prices on the popularity of a movie, so The Batman will be $20 and anything with Liam Neeson will be free.
It's 60 Minutes meets Gone in 60 Seconds. Tune in Monday for Prospector's Briefs on Rock 107.
Look, I hate it, but it seems like I'm in the minority here. Good morning. I'm Rock 107's Prospector. Long lines of folks waited at concession stands and ticket booths at Cinemark and other theaters to check out The Batman. Yeah, the brand new Batman movie is out. Now, I wouldn't stand in line to see a movie now. Like, maybe when I was in my teens, I kind of remember waiting in line for the Batman with Michael Keaton. But now, I don't even want to be in a crowded theater. And that's pre-pandemic. It's got nothing to do with getting sick. It's just I just don't want to be around that many people. If I see a movie that looks cool, I usually say to my wife, Tara, I can't wait till that's on demand. But seemingly, I'm in the minority. People are amped to see The Batman. Critics are describing this as more of a film noir murder mystery than a superhero flick, too. Robert Pattinson's version of Batman acts more like a detective. His Bruce Wayne is more brooding and damaged by his emotional trauma. The Riddler's the main villain. He's played by Paul Dano. He's murdering corrupt officials and leaving clues to draw the Batman into an investigation of a conspiracy involving his dad, Thomas Wayne, and a mob boss. The Batman's directed by Matt Reeves. He's the guy who did Cloverfield. And here's the part that really kills me. It clocks in at just under 3 hours. 3 hours? Man, we got to go back to the days like when The Godfather was in theater where there's an intermission in the middle of these things. It's supposedly darker than The Dark Knight. Yes, I will be waiting for it on demand.
You to pull your hair out, scream at the radio, punch the dashboard. Complaints should be addressed to Loudmouth Yambag at rock107.com.
Hey, I'm Rock 107's Prospector, and here's what's got me jacked. Left turns and old drivers. Look, I know this is going to sound bad, but most old people suck at driving. I was heading to Exeter today when I came to an intersection where I needed to make a left turn. Now, I noticed the guy in the car opposite me at the other end of the intersection had his left turn signal on, too. Great. When the light changes, we both make our lefts and go on our merry way. But that's not what happened. The light changes and I start to creep out a bit, turning left. The guy opposite me starts widening his turn like he's pulling an 18-wheeler. Now I'm kind of stuck in no man's land, and Snowman from Smokey and the Bandit is still coming up the road. But now we could have both made lefts in front of each other and been fine, but that's not going to happen now because he's practically turning into my rear driver's side quarter panel. To make matters worse, he starts squawking at me like it's all my fault. I roll down my window and I say, "Hey, I thought we'd be able to make the turns in front of each other. You know, like normal drivers do every day." I'm not saying that everybody with hair that resembles the color of a battleship shouldn't be driving. I'm just saying I find it appalling that if you pass a test when you're 16, you're allowed to drive until you die without any follow-up. How could that be good? I mean, when you learn how to perform CPR, you got to get recertified every couple of years, right? And how often do you even perform CPR? Once a year, maybe, unless you're an EMT or something? I mean, come on, most of us never perform CPR, yet they constantly have to be retested and recertified. But if you want to drive a 2,300-pound hunk of metal around at 60 miles an hour, all you got to do is pull a K-turn and parallel park in an empty test course with a state trooper who just wants to go home and tap his wife before the game comes on, and you're good to go for the rest of your life? That can't be smart. This is what I propose. You know how every 4 years you got to stand in line at the DMV and hand them $36 and you get your picture taken again? Why not get in the car, show the state trooper that you still know how to drive? Maybe take a written test again. If you can tell me what you're supposed to do at a yield sign, maybe you can keep your license. If you can show me that you knows how to use an acceleration lane without slamming on your brakes at the end of the ramp and sitting there for half an hour instead of getting up to speed and merging with traffic, maybe you can keep your license. Now, here's the thing. Some people are going to say, that's age discrimination. Just because I'm old doesn't mean I'm a poor driver. True. It just means, your hearing, sight, and reaction times have gotten worse since you learned to drive. I say everyone gets retested every 4 years. No BS discrimination, no whining from jackhole special interest groups. Just better drivers and safer roads.
I'm Prospector. I'm for the people. Who's with me? I gotta go crazy, man!
Ever see the crazy guy screaming at the wall outside the Times building?
Where does this rage come from, my son?
Tweet us with hashtag #IFoundProspector and we'll come and get him. Prospector, mornings on Rock 107.
Life's pretty tough right now. There's plenty of bad news, but it's not all bad. It's time for the brighter side of Prospector on Rock 107.
A guy in Kentucky was leaving a store last weekend when he found a $10 bill in his jacket pocket. And he went back into the store and decided he was going to buy a lottery ticket with it. That lottery ticket paid off for $250,000.
Thanks. We needed that. The brighter side of Prospector on Rock 107.
We can all learn a thing or two. Good morning. I'm Rock 107's Prospector, and it's time for another edition of Mr. Manley. Of course, Mr. Manley was a huge part of the morning show back in the day here at Rock 107, and a wonderful man named James who lives in Centermoreland will once in a while send me new versions of Mr. Manley. So it's time for the latest edition of Mr. Manley on Rock 107. Hey, Mr. Manley here with lesson number 119 in How to Be Manly. Now that Lent has started, it can sometimes be difficult finding an appropriate place to eat for Friday night dinner dates, especially if the lovely lady you're trying to date will not eat meat on Fridays. So you may need to get creative. If you ever find yourself in a similar situation, please follow along in your Manly Manual, page 367, and repeat after me. Number 1, well, you must like lobster since you have such a nice tail. Number 2, I've got some salmon that would like to spawn up your stream. And number 3, how about we go back to your place and enjoy some snapper? Seconds later, when she snaps around and sprays a steady stream of mace in your eyes, and you lay on the floor crying in pain, you'll realize just what kind of man you really are. Until next time, this is Mr. Manley saying, be manly and good day.
What's a yambag? A fool, an idiot, a blockhead, a dunce, or an ignoramus. You know, a dullard, simpleton, or a clot, nitwit, dipstick, pea-brain, mouth breather, or cretin.
It's now time to announce the winner of Prospector's Yambag of the Week.
Here are the nominees. Nominee number 1.
2 men robbed a Subway restaurant in New Orleans on Sunday evening after ordering, eating, and sitting there consuming their sandwiches and food. Yeah, then they decided to rob the place. The guys are still on the run, and it's not clear how much money they got away with.
Nominee number 2.
Some idiot in New York broke into a police station on Wednesday and tried to steal stuff from the head cop's office. Then he tried to run when someone caught him in the act, but he was in a cop's place, a police station. They arrested him before he even made it out of the building.
Nominee number 3.
A guy in Altoona, Pennsylvania, tried to steal a truck at a car wash, but the owner caught him in the act, held him down, and forced him to call 911 on himself.
Nominee number 4.
Cops in Virginia were chasing a man on foot when a random goat showed up and started chasing the perpetrator too. It was faster than the cops, chased the guy into the woods, and helped flush him back out of the woods, and the man was arrested.
And the winner is...
the idiot who tried to rob a police station. Not the best way to start a career in crime, right? You're the Yambag of the Week. Stay tuned Monday morning for a whole new slate of Yambag of the Day nominees right here on Rock 107. And the Prospector's Prime Cuts podcast. Be sure to catch us live weekdays from 5:30 to 10 a.m. on Rock 107 or online at rock107.com or the Rock 107 app. A free download for your Android or iPhone. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss Prospector's Prime Cuts.